All right. This isn't a rant, just educational. All right. I'm going to try and do it quickly and make it interesting for everybody. All right. So, you may have heard from people. Okay. This could be your boss, your teachers. This could be Senator Bernie Sanders on television. Sometimes they let him on television. This could be from YouTube channels. This could be from millionaire corporations who don't use mainstream devices. Like they don't use Walmart, or they don't use commercials or advertisements. Companies that have figured out what I'm about to tell you. In case you didn't know, here's a couple things that you need to know about money. All right. Money equals power, right? It does. There's other kinds of power, like my truck has a lot of power, I can pull a skid loader or an excavator with my truck. It has a lot of power, right? And if you want to have that truck, you got to use a little bit more money to get that truck that has more power to do more stuff, right? Okay, that's one way money is power. Another power is the power that you have in your own body. Someone who's 4'10", 100 pounds doesn't have the capacity to have as much physical power as somebody who's 6 foot, 210 pounds or something like that, right? So that power, you want to think that, the people who are powerful, whether it's money, whether it's the truck you have or the machine you have or the tractor or your physical power or just your mental capacity, the power to do things with your brain, to figure things out. You want to think that people who have a lot of that power are going to take care of people who don't have as much power. And you want to think that they get this power on their own devices, because of their merit and their knowledge and their ability to create something that helps out the whole world. But that's not what's happening right now. This wealth, this power, is owned by 1% of America, of those human beings. 1% of the 700 million people, 1% of that is a very small number of people. And those people have control of the money in one way, shape, or form. It's not necessarily in their checking account, but it's within their corporation or their business. Or it could be in their checking account, and they can take that money and that power and put it where they want so that more money comes towards them. That's what's happening. They're not using their money to help out the people who don't have the money. They're using it to get themselves more money. History has done this before, obviously, where a country has had a king become wealthy. That king fails because of his greed. The whole kingdom falls. It's happened before. In a certain period of history, it's needed for a country to grow so that the country can become stronger as a country. But when that person on top with the most power continues to suck from all the people underneath him, the kingdom will fail. Okay, that being said, right now we have a group of those 1% people in charge. They are not there because they helped everyone around them. They're there because they helped themselves. How do I know this? I know this because quite frankly, good people are mad about it. People who want good for you, who have a history of doing good things for you and I, who believe in fairness and equality, not only the distribution of wealth, but the fairness and equality of man versus woman, black versus white. Those things aren't supposed to exist. We're supposed to be one one group of people. And we've been divided. So what are we going to do about it? You know what? I don't know. I don't have the answers. All I know is it exists. And my job is to tell people, look, if you are angry because of a group of people, you see this division, and it is anything to do other than the wealthy running this company and changing the rules and regulations of corporations and laws and bills and agreements. If you believe that there's any division other than that has caused your life or the people around you, the people of this United States of America, to be worse, you're wrong. You are. Listen, there's some individuals who've done bad things. But the overall reason that we have problems is because of that 1% that funnels all the wealth away from us. Listen, I work in construction, all right? Physically, I have more strength and power than the other people that I work with, usually, okay? If I take that power and I only use it to glorify myself on the job, the crew will not do as well. We will be wasting money on the people who have less power to do less work. They're just going to be there getting a paycheck if I do all the work. Now, am I going to get mad about that? No, I'm not, because guess what? I have the understanding that if I use the power that I have to do the work, and I do it only for me, we're going to fail. I understand that. There are points in time where I have to do that. I have to use that power that I have, the strength to lift a little bit more, to do a little bit more, to do those things harder that are harder for the guys who can't do it. That's what our government is supposed to be. That's what our wealth is supposed to be. They're supposed to use that power to help us. Not to take just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and give us a little bit less and give us a little bit. That is not what's supposed to happen. But it is. See, so many people don't even know what it's like to have. They only know what it's like to be on that receiving end. They don't have the strength. There's nothing, all they have is the participation trophies. They've never been first place. They've never been champion. They don't know what it's like to have power. They've only been weak. And they've only been ruled over by the powerful. And even though my experience, as small as it is, I've had the power, I've been in charge. So I can see that the way for everybody to get better is not for me to do everything for you, and it is not for me to take everything from you. It is for me to get underneath you, lift you up, help you, and show you how to do it yourself. Now, if you find a politician who's going to teach you how to do it yourself, how to lift you up and give you power, that is the person you need to follow, not the person who already has the power, says, I want more power, and then surrounds himself with more people who have power, who got there from taking that power from you. Because guess what? That's all that's been happening. There is no one that's on the top who gave away his power or helped you. Why? How do I know that? Because the middle class is shrinking. We have less wealth than we've ever had, and it's getting worse. Jobs are less than before. Okay? I'm not blaming it on any specific person. I'm blaming it on that 1% of people who pay politicians, who come from Wall Street, who pay politicians, who go into Wall Street. It's a group of cronies who change the things so that I only get $15 an hour at best to do what I do, so that the rest of that money goes to the top. It's not supposed to go to the top. Yes, that's how the laws are written. But trust me, I didn't write those laws, and nobody who makes $15 an hour is going to make those laws that say, hey, when I go out and I work hard for my family 40 hours a week, the majority of that money that is profit should always go to the top. I would never write that law. Would you write that law? No, I wouldn't. But it's okay. It's legal. That's what it is in this country. But guess what? People like you and I, we need to stand up and say, hey, if I work 40 hours a week, and if I can make the guy at the top of my corporation a multi-billionaire, why do I starve? Why do my kids not have food? Why can I not afford health insurance? Why can I not afford prescription drugs? Why is this happening? Well, that's the way it is. Well, it shouldn't be anymore. It shouldn't be. How much more can you take? How much more can you take from us? Now, I'd like to think that Donald Trump is going to give it back to us. It's going to somehow make it so that less of that money is always going to the top and more of it stays down here with us so that we can survive. So that people actually want to get a job because getting a job makes sense. To many, many people, they're hurting so bad. Some of them, it doesn't even make sense to have a job because it doesn't matter if they're working or not. The government is going to take care of them, so they're going to be stuck down there. It's easier to get food stamps. It's easier to get assistance than it is to wake up at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning to go work hard. And even at the end of that week, you still barely get by. We don't vote for that. We don't want that. Does Donald Trump have a record of paying his workers fairly? The people like you and I, the majority who make between $7 and $20 an hour. Does he have a record of helping us? Of not becoming more rich and spreading the wealth to the people who are hurting? Does he have a record of doing that? Does his cronies that he got in there, do they have a record of doing that? No. Not that I know of, not that I've heard of. That's scary. That's scary to me. It's scary to know that that money that paid for that campaign came from a bank account that grew by taking money from people like me, when I would rather have that money for myself. But they get away with it. They don't have to pay their taxes. They can send our jobs out there. They can give corporations tax breaks with their buddies and friends. You know, and then they get on television, which they also own, and then they lie to us. We all know this, so what do? This is what we're going to do. It's taken me 13 minutes to get here. OurRevolution.com. Start following Bernard Sanders, an independent senator from Burlington, Vermont, the place where I've lived, a place where you see more equality than I've seen anywhere else. I've recently moved from there, and I feel like I've moved backwards 150 years. That place, you got to understand, Vermont is weird to everyone else. And it's not until you go there and understand what's going on there and then leave before you figure out that they got some things right, okay? Green energy, green power, wind turbines, solar fields, a lot of them. You know, the state of Vermont gives more energy into the power grid than takes out. With zero footprint. You know, if they're putting more power into the grid, the power grid, and helping the states around them and the people around them, because they're producing more energy, putting it in than taking it out, with green power, example, solar field, wind turbine, instead of nuclear power plant, coal power plant. Hey, that's where we have to go. That's where America has to go. The problem is the people who own the oil, the coal, you know, those, the nuclear, those producers, the people who own those companies and have that power on us, they don't want to lose it. and that's Donald Trump and his friends. So, okay, Our Revolution, check out Bernard Sanders. You want someone to follow him. He is going to tell you what you need to know, not what they want to tell you or what they want you to know, okay? So, do I look like I'm getting paid by anybody? The only way that I make money is by the strength of my back, the sweat of my brow, and the blood that runs through these veins. That's it. That's the only way that I make money. And do I deserve more? I believe so. I believe I deserve a little. I believe I should be able to get the little ones in my family a gift for Christmas, but I can't. If I did, I'd go deeper into debt. Why should I go into debt? For why? They don't see the people at the top, they don't care. But there are some people who do care. But they're not going to be on television as much. You can find them. Like I said, Bernie Sanders. Look him up on YouTube, Google it, watch his videos. You're not going to find 3,500 lawsuits like you do on Donald Trump. You're not going to find him degrading women or minorities or handicapped people like Donald Trump does. You're not going to find him surrounding himself with people who have interests in big money, basically, who don't give a crap about small people. You're not going to find that about him. You're going to find him directing people towards our revolution, the way that we're going to change this country to now give back to the people who made that 1% rich. It's time. It has to be time. Greed is an addiction, and that's where we're hurting, because there are greedy people in charge right now. That's it. Okay, so I had to get that out there. A video like this needs to just be out there so that someone finds it. Could change someone's perspective. So just be careful of what comments you're reading from. A lot of them are actually not even from this country. They're from Russia. What can I say? You gotta find real people these days. You gotta find people who don't have the interests for their own greed, for their own money. Listen, man, I want you and everybody in your family to have everything you want, and I know that it's hard because I'm right along next to you. I got to sacrifice time with my friends and family so that I can pay a bill. Like, that's not the way it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be that way, because there's no other way. But there used to be. I used to be able. People in the past, they used to be able to. That's what the problem with millennials. We can't. There is no way. They say, oh, there's no jobs. We get a college education. There's no jobs. Nowhere for you to go. We're just sucking from the economy. We're not like giving in to the economy at all. How? There's nothing. We have common sense enough to see. Listen, I've got a college degree. I'm gonna go work for you for $15 an hour so you can be rich. We're not stupid. We know that we can't make it. Every year, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of college graduates go out there and fight for what? 10 jobs? So what are the rest of them doing? They're kind of getting pissed off. Who's at fault? The 1%, the billionaires. It ain't our fault. It ain't minorities' fault. It ain't handicapped people's fault. It's not Mexico's fault. It's their fault at the top. And that's who, somehow we accidentally put that person in charge accidentally. Listen, have you ever heard of the rule of 2080? Rule of 2080. Change happens because of 20% of the people. 80% of the people don't even know what's going on. But majority of the cases, 20% of the people are the reason for the change. So let's do the math real quick. Less than 50% voted of Americans. Less than 50% voted for Donald Trump. And it doesn't really matter if you voted for Trump or Hillary. There's two sides of the same evil. That's why I'm trying to direct you towards Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont. If you've never been to Vermont's different. You'll see. They got it figured out. All right. So 50%, less than 50% voted. Less than 50% voted for Donald Trump. Okay. Now, if you take those people who voted for him because they worked for him, or they are told to, or their family members, you're probably looking at 20% of Americans voted, out of their belief that Donald Trump is the person who's going to fight for their needs. Okay, why are so many people mad about Donald Trump being president? Well, because 20% of the people believe that he was going to do that, or is going to do what he said he's going to do. Okay. Can he? You know what? I am a positive person. I'm usually not negative, and I'm not coming at this to just be negative. I'm coming at this to be hopeful. And I hope that he does a good job, but I also hope that if he doesn't, that this movement of people like you and I can get in there and fix this. Fix it. How do we fix it? I think the mechanic that we need to call is Bernie Sanders. In fact, I know that. So that's what I have to say. Remember, only 20%, the 20% versus 80%. 20% of the people make for the change. Okay? Now, the other 80% needs to understand what's going on. Okay? All right. Thank you.